So this past weekend wasn't just the final episode of Dragon Ball Super from the Japanese side of things for now with 131, but it was also a very important episode of Dragon Ball Super dubbed, episode 56, which was the appearance for the first time in the anime of Super Saiyan Rose, Goku Black. And I want to have a discussion with you guys and give you all my thoughts on not just Goku Black's voice, which has been the topic of tremendous controversy since the Xenoverse 2, revealed what it would sort of sound like, I guess, even though it really didn't end up like that. And I want to discuss the new voice of the Grand Priest, the Daishinkan, who is now being referred to as the Grand Minister in the English dub of Dragon Ball Super. Now, obviously referring to him as the Grand Minister versus the Grand Priest, Minister and Priest don't really have that much of a difference in, what they actually mean. So calling him the Grand Minister is not really wrong, and I'm guessing the reason why they called him the Grand Minister is because maybe they felt, this is a guess, I don't know for sure, maybe they felt like priest was had too much of a religious connotation, and they really want to avoid any kind of way of offending any sort of religion or anybody who has religious beliefs. Now, obviously, back in the day, during the Dragon Ball Z era, there was a much, much more conscious effort to be careful with words they used. For example, Kami, he means God in Japanese, but they didn't call him God, they just called him Kami, as if that's like his actual name, but his name is not Kami, his name is God. It's just that Kami means God in Japanese, but when they went back and did Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, and Super, they refer to Beerus as God of Destruction Beerus. So the word God is going to be used a lot in the dub, but they're going to try to avoid a lot of, religious things just because it makes it easier. If you can use a word that isn't like priest, minister, there you go. And it's being voiced by a gentleman by the name of Josh Greel, who is in fact a Twitch streamer. And one thing I'm really happy about when it comes to people like Josh Greel is that they're pretty much from our, I guess you can say, our cloth. That's a interesting pun there that I'm using that when it comes to the Grand Priest, but this is a dude who, he's been on Attack on Titan, he's been on a few different projects. Dragon Ball Super as the Grand Minister is probably his biggest one, but the dude is also a legitimate, content creator. He is a content creator, and he's not the first one. Damon Mills, another content creator, he also got a shot at being a voice in Dragon Ball with Monaka and doing some Frieza voices. So I always am happy when a person who is a content creator actually gets a gig on an official dub in Funimation. So if you're out there and you are producing content on YouTube, Twitch, whatever, and you like doing voices and you want to do a voice for Dragon Ball or some anime, you may actually get your chance someday. Never ever give up the dream, dude, because you never know what weird opportunities may knock on your door. I'm sure when Josh Greel and Damon Mills started doing their wacky voices a few years ago, they had no idea that they would actually be allowed to do a new Dragon Ball series, or at least audition for one and get the gig. They probably had no clue because Dragon Ball Super is only a few years old, and these guys have been around longer. And I like the fact that, you just never know. If you're a fan of anything, and you want to do it, you never know what opportunity may knock. So always remember that, folks. If you're out there, don't give up the dream, okay? As far as Goku Black's voice goes, there's been a lot of controversy, okay? There was a Sean Schemmel Reddit AMA where Sean kind of got into it with some people, and, he was saying that he had changed the voice of Rose, him and his director, to match up Zalmasu's voice actor, and there was a lot of controversy about the way he used the word artistic license. Now, when the Rose voice first appeared in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, and actually again in Fighters, he had what I would consider kind of a British accent. But when it actually appeared in the anime, it was very, very different. Now, a lot of the community was hypercritical over this because they didn't understand why Goku Black had kind of a dark, raspy voice when he was in base form, and then when he transformed into Rose, he had more of a posh voice. And I don't know if that's the right word, posh, I guess arrogant is the word in the English dub. Whereas Nozawa kind of played the same character all the way through. It doesn't make sense that a character's voice actually change when they transform like that. Like, it didn't make sense he would just get an accent. It never made sense. The whole excuse that was given to the fandom was that, Sean Schemmel wanted to sound more like, David Gray, the Zamasu voice actor, because he had a similar voice. But when the actual episode with Zamasu aired, it wasn't the case at all. And as a result of that, it looks like they went back and modified it quite a bit. Now, the beautiful thing about this is that it is much, much less inconsistent. In fact, it's much, 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 much better. I was expecting it to... I really didn't have expectations, but I was wondering how it would actually turn out in the finished product. And that's one thing I want to quickly talk about. When you hear a voice in a video game, whether it be Xenoverse Fighters or whatever game you're playing, if you hear the voice before you actually hear them in the anime, you have to remember that these voices are not finalized, and a lot of times the video game dubbing process is very much rushed. They can't actually sit there and watch the Japanese episode and think things through. And when Sean Schemmel was voicing Goku Black, back in 2016 for the game, Sean Schemmel and the people at Funimation weren't even close to dubbing that. It wasn't even, I believe when they actually did it, I don't even think the super dub was officially announced, at that time. Recently with DLC Pack 6, we heard Jiren's voice for the first time, and some people were saying, oh, he sounds too heroic, and there were some criticisms there. And obviously he's supposed to be heroic because he's a Pride Trooper, but when they actually come down to doing the anime, there's a lot more planning and care taken with Dragon Ball Super than there was with, say, Dragon Ball Z the first time that it was dubbed back in the 90s. Way more care. So it's not really something you want to worry about until the episode aired. But with Goku Black, there was a lot of controversy because it just didn't make sense that a character would have his voice have an accent when he transformed. Well, if you watch Super Episode 56, you could tell that he was sounding a little more arrogant and more, I guess, stuck up and whatnot, even before he transformed. It wasn't like the transformation all of a sudden gave him an accent, and I was really happy about that. It's almost like Sean Schemmel is slowly shifting his Goku Black voice into being like that, no matter what form the character's in. So at the end of the day, a lot of folks were bothered by the voice of Goku Black in the dub. And let's be real here. Masako Nozawa was one hard act to follow when she portrayed Goku and Goku Black in the Japanese version. She's really, really talented. And she was able to kind of shift her tone. And even though most of us are not fluent in Japanese, you can still hear it. She was able to shift her tone between the two characters. And Schemmel, with episode 56, was able to do that. So always remember that just because a voice sounds a certain way in the video game does not mean the final version will sound that way, even if we think it will, because based on everything that had been stated up until the actual airing of episode 56, it really seemed like they were going to stick with this inconsistent voice, but it wound up being better. I actually personally liked what Sean did with it. I really did. And, I consider myself more of a Dragon Ball purist, but I respect and I respect all dubs. Right, some of them aren't the best. Some of them are great. Just depends on the dub. But as a Dragon Ball fan, I'm always curious about what they do. So I'm always gonna prefer Nozawa just because that's what that's the original version. That's my Goku necessarily. It's good to see that Sean is who is a lot of people's Goku. Right, a lot of people grew up with this guy, and I kind of did too. I watched both versions when I was a kid. It's good to see that he's kind of adopting a similar mentality when it comes to Goku Black. So I look forward to seeing where things go in the English dub. So that's going to do it for this video. I want to real quick before we get out of here let you guys know that there's been some YouTube issues with a lot of different content creators. If you are not seeing our videos in your sub boxes, it's been a problem all week. You've probably seen some other anime guys complain about it. Probably even other non-anime guys complain about it. Remember to hit the notification bell down below. Subscribing to a channel is just, YouTube's weird when it comes to this. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the notification, so remember to hit the bell and enable all notifications. That way, whenever a video goes up, you get it right in your sub box, you get notified right away, because there's going to be a lot of big stuff coming. A lot of big stuff. And that doesn't just apply for me. That's for any content creator on YouTube that you want to support. Anybody who you are subbed to and you're wondering, well, why haven't they uploaded? Maybe they have, and you're just not being notified because YouTube's being weird again. They always break every few months, and then they get fixed. So just remember to hit that notification bell if you are looking to get all the videos, in your sub box and notified. So thanks again. Let me know in the comments what you think about Goku Black's Sean Schemmel voice and the Grand Minister, and I'll talk to y'all very, very soon.